Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Update, your go-to source for the latest news, expert insights, and real-time developments on Iraq's currency, economy, and financial reforms. Whether you're a long-time investor or just curious about the dinar, you're in the right place. The Iranian parliament's recent approval to close the Strait of Hormuz, as reported by Iranian state television, marks a pivotal moment in the escalating geopolitical tensions between Iran and the United States. This announcement, which awaits final approval by Iran's Supreme National Security Council, comes on the heels of aggressive military strikes by the United States that reportedly targeted key nuclear facilities within Iran during the early hours of Sunday morning. The timing and symbolism of both the U.S. military action and Iran's retaliatory parliamentary decision are deeply significant, pointing toward a heightened phase of confrontation in a region already burdened by long-standing rivalries, unresolved conflicts, and high economic stakes. To understand the gravity of this development, one must first appreciate the strategic and economic importance of the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway, approximately 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, serves as the world's most critical choke point for oil transportation. Roughly one-fifth of the global oil supply, including exports from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the UAE, Kuwait, and Iran itself, passes through this strait. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz, even as a threat, sends immediate shockwaves through global energy markets, maritime security networks, and international diplomacy channels. The mere possibility of such a disruption causes a spike in oil prices, undermines shipping routes, and prompts global economic concerns. Iran's decision to push for this measure via its parliament indicates that the country is moving from rhetoric to legislative action, a move that is as much about internal signaling as it is about external messaging. Domestically, it demonstrates resolve, unity, and defiance in the face of what Iranian leaders perceive as unjustified aggression by the United States. The vote also seeks to rally nationalist sentiment among Iranian citizens who may already be angered by foreign interference in national matters, particularly something as sensitive and sovereign as nuclear development. At the same time, the legislation is a calculated maneuver to test the resolve and response of both regional and global powers. The Iranian parliament, while influential, does not hold the ultimate decision-making power in matters of national security or foreign policy. That authority rests with Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, and the Supreme National Security Council, a powerful body composed of top military, intelligence, and political figures. Their approval is necessary before such a measure can be enforced, especially one with such far-reaching global implications. The world will now watch closely to see whether this symbolic legislative act transforms into an actual operational blockade, which would represent a major escalation and could trigger military responses from other nations, chief among them the United States, the United Kingdom, and regional Gulf allies. The context of the U.S. airstrikes further complicates this already fragile situation. According to multiple international sources, the United States carried out a series of precision strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, allegedly to disrupt Iran's suspected advancements in uranium enrichment and potential weapons development. These actions follow weeks of tension and accusations, with Washington claiming that Iran was inching closer to a nuclear weapons threshold, thereby violating the spirit, if not the letter, of previous agreements like the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, which the U.S. had withdrawn from in 2018 under the Trump administration. Though the Biden administration made attempts to re-enter negotiations, those talks stalled, leaving both sides disillusioned and wary. Beyond the immediate economic impact, this development could redraw the regional security map. Countries like Israel, already alarmed by Iran's nuclear ambitions, may view the closure as a red line. NATO allies may be compelled to deploy naval forces to ensure freedom of navigation. On the diplomatic front, this crisis may unravel the last remaining threads of trust between Iran and the West. Already strained by sanctions, cyber attacks, and proxy conflicts in Yemen, Syria, and Lebanon, Iran-West relations could enter an irreversible downward spiral. This could push Iran closer to Russia and China, who may use the crisis to expand their influence in the region and portray the United States as a destabilizing force. For instance, China, a major importer of Gulf oil, may attempt to mediate or even militarily escort its oil shipments, marking a significant shift in naval power dynamics in the region. At the same time, the United States must weigh its response carefully. Military retaliation against an Iranian closure of the strait could trigger a full-blown conflict, which the Biden administration, and indeed, most of the American public, wants to avoid. Yet doing nothing would send the signal that strategic waterways can be weaponized without consequence, undermining global confidence in U.S. leadership. The Pentagon likely has contingency plans, including naval deployments and aerial surveillance, ready for activation, but each move must be calibrated to avoid a rapid descent into war. The domestic political dimension within the United States also adds complexity. An election year looms, and foreign policy crises often influence voter perception. A poorly handled escalation with Iran could damage the incumbent administration's credibility. Conversely, a demonstration of resolve and successful de-escalation could strengthen its position. The same holds true for Iran, where hardliners and moderates are vying for dominance. The parliamentary decision reflects the ascendancy of hardline voices who advocate for a confrontational stance against the West. The media coverage of this event will also play a pivotal role. Iranian state television has already framed the parliamentary move as a necessary defense against U.S. aggression, stoking nationalist fervor. Western media outlets, meanwhile, focus on the potential for regional destabilization and energy crisis. The truth likely lies somewhere in between, a deliberate escalation designed to extract concessions or relief from sanctions, but with the real risk of spinning out of control. In conclusion, the Iranian parliament's approval to close the Strait of Hormuz is far more than a symbolic gesture. It is a strategic maneuver rooted in years of conflict, mutual distrust, and geopolitical rivalry. Whether or not the measure is enforced, its passage signals that both Iran and the United States have entered a new, more dangerous phase in their already volatile relationship. The next few days and weeks will be crucial. They will determine whether this is the beginning of a broader regional conflict or a high-stakes negotiation tactic that eventually leads to de-escalation. Either way, the world is watching, and the consequences of what happens next will reverberate far beyond the waters. Thanks for tuning into Iraqi Dinar Update. If you found this content helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a beat on Iraq's evolving financial landscape. Stay informed and stay ready.